What's up, everybody? This is Sonny from P.O.D, and you are watching Good Company.
Hey guys, my name's Scott Bowling, and you're watching Good Company. Today, I'm with Sonny from P.O.D, a band I've been listening to for a long time. They've actually came out in 1992, I think, so yeah. It's been a while, man. They've released several videos. It kind of broke through TRL. They've also done like songs on movies like The Matrix and Little Nicky and other stuff. So thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it, man. How you been?
Been great, man.
So what's it like, man? You've been around for a while now, so.
Been around a long time. Started off as just kids having fun, you know. Never thought we'd leave San Diego. And, you know, we worked at the same time. We'd play local gigs, boys and girls clubs. We would play bars and clubs, and we weren't even 21, so we'd have to sit outside. And then, you know, during our set time, then they'd, you know, shuffle us through the back, play the show, and then get on out. Nice. And, you know, we'd play skate parks, anywhere they'd let us.
When you guys first started, I guess right here we have Snuff the Punk. Talk about this record.
Nice.
When you guys first started, you were, you had never fronted a band, right? Was this like your first time?
It was never my intentions to be in a band. It was, I was just going through things in my life and, you know, made some decisions of faith and decisions to, you know, just trying to grow up. Mm-hmm. And Marcos and Wub they were already in a band that was jamming around town, and they were believers, you know, and every time they go play these skinhead shows or these backyard parties, they were just, you know, kind of bold with their message. And, you know, come to find out, they asked me to front a new band with them, and come to find out, it was just more to keep me out of trouble and to just keep my head straight. And you know, it was nothing I ever wanted to do, but since it was new in my faith, I thought this is the only way people might listen. You know, just scream in their face. And it wasn't even like I had no desires, but it wasn't even my kind of music necessarily. Right. It was still new to me.
What did you grow up listening to?
I grew up in a young family, so a lot of rock and roll, but then when I, you know, junior high years, it was more of like hip hop music and reggae music, and it was more something with a message, you know what I mean? It's something that was from the streets, or a culture that was saying something, you know, that was, whether it was political or it was humanitarian, or whether they were just, it was something that they believed, and I was into more of that stuff.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So where'd you guys record this first album at, Snuff the Punk?
Everything we did was independently. I want to say that's actually a newer.
Is it?
That's a reissue of the cover, because it's actually better than what we could afford at the time. But we did everything independently. You know, we just saved our coins and we recorded in a local studio. I couldn't even tell you.
There's the song listings if you don't remember.
Yeah, see this.
That's crazy.
We did everything on our own. This is a whole different cover, because Diamante was an old school Christian distribution company that, after years, they said, "Oh, we'll put it out." Mm-hmm. So we did everything independently, you know, for some years.
Oh, that's cool, man. So okay,
cool.
So your second album, Brown. This album came out. This is how I discovered you guys. Actually, was Brown. My brother actually gave me the album and told me you guys gotta check him out, and it's really cool. What was it like going from here to this, to Brown?
Well, first of all, this was still in the cassette deck era. Right. These are still cassette tapes, and we were doing everything on our own. It really just started off more as a demo to just kind of get a few songs out of there, and then it became Snuff the Punk. And then when we did Brown, I want to say '94, still independently, but we were just kind of learning the ropes. You know, we were playing around San Diego. People were really starting to just take like to us. Yeah. And the same thing, just as guys, and my uncle helped us at the time. We saved our money. We'd go in the studio, record some stuff, and do it all on our own.
And it's cool too, man, because you did your first like video for Salah or whatever. Am I saying that right? Yes.
You could say like that.
Salah.
Or Salah, yeah.
Salah, yeah.
But that was the first. We had a buddy who was shooting videos at the time, and you know, it was all still new to us. We were still kids, and I think we just shot mostly a place called Soma's in San Diego.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a live show, and then we did some cruising around town, and yeah, then even that started to get around.
Did you feel more comfortable kind of going into this record? You know, obviously this was brand new for you, being like out in the front and being the front
Dude,
man.
I think we're like 10 studio records deep, and I still get nervous. I was in the studio yesterday, and the moment you put on those headphones and you hear your voice, it's just, I'm just that guy. I'm a little bit more on the shy side, and so once you hear yourself, you just sound funny to yourself. It doesn't matter, you know.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's a good thing to always go in, you know, humble and be like, okay, I'm gonna just do my best. And I just hope it sounds good, you know. Yeah, I'm actually more comfortable just playing live shows than studio.
Are you? Yeah. The second album right here, the third, you guys kind of did a live album after this one. What made you guys decide to do a live record?
I think we have just always been a live band, you know. Like you said, studio stuff, that was all kind of new to us.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're putting out these full-length records. It was like we just needed something to get into the hands of kids that actually come into our shows. Or even at the time when we made a demo, it was mostly to give to, you know, bar owners or concert promoters and say, hey dude, let us play a show, you know. But for us, I think we've just always been a live band. That's where everything just kind of comes out. That's where we're having fun.
Get all the energy from.
Yeah, that's where all the energy is. And I think we were playing, it was a festival up in Washington. I don't want to say Tom Fest. It was Tom Fest. And they were already set up. They were already recording the show. And then, so we just took the opportunity and said, well, you know, let's just put out, this is what we do.
That's cool, man. And listening to this, you preach a lot, and it's very like, it's cool, man.
When I listen to that, I mean, obviously, I love it, and we were so young and in your face. I think coming to faith, you know, at the time, and even as a kid, we were very militant about what we believed in, because that scene that we were in, they were, whatever they believed in, they were the same way. We were playing with, you know, Nazi skinhead groups, you know, Hare Krishna groups, you know, there were straight edge groups. There's all these, everybody had something to say. And we just happened to believe in Jesus. So naturally, and it wasn't like every song is about that, but it was like, you know what? This is what we do. This is what we believe in. And so, but we came off very militant, almost like a gang mentality, where it was like, because we were so used to, even at these shows, if there were skinheads there and, you know, these other bands that didn't like us, it wasn't like we were some church boys that were gonna sit there and get our butts whooped. It was like we were getting into fights, and it was like, you know, it just, this is the streets, this is what we do. And so we always felt like, well, we had to stand up for what you believe in. But as you mature in your faith, I remember there was this one local guy, and he played coffee shops, and he was starting to see the popularity of P.O.D. around town. And then he had actually at the time written a letter to us, and he said, I noticed, you know, you guys are getting real popular around town, and, you know, these places are asking you back. And he also noticed how forward we were with, you know, with this, I wouldn't say this message, we were just forward with what we believed in, and it was very intimidating. And he just said, you know, he taught us it's an amazing lesson to this day. He said, you know, you want to love people. He said, you want to be asked to come back to these clubs. You want to be asked to play here again. And he's like, you guys are getting into places that not a lot of people can play. And you guys are a good band. And so, you know, just learn a balance. And so from there on, you know, we tried to learn, but a lot of times on stage, we did take the opportunity to share what we believed in.
Oh, that's great, man. I like the balance. That's so after here, you did this, I'm trying to remember this album coming.
It's the fundamental Southtown elements.
Southtown.
Yeah.
You know, it's like funny because this album got censored for a while, man.
This was our first major. So we did, all the ones you showed so far were independent.
So Atlantic had you.
We signed to Atlantic in 98.
Yeah, 98.
Or put that out.
This album came out in 99.
99, so I think we signed 98. Yeah, it didn't get censored by Atlantic Records at the time, because we were an open book. We never marketed ourselves as like some Christian band. People just said, oh, those guys are Christians. And when we signed the deal, we were stoked because it was a secular label. It was a real label, you know. And then, but we still acknowledged that we still had fans and that were believers, and that they did get their tapes or CDs, whatever, at Bible bookstores and, you know, places like that. And so they actually formed a whole Christian kind of department here in Nashville, right, that would kind of work this in the Christian circuits or whatever. It's not like we knew any of this. We just, at the time, you know, and they did that. And this was the art that we got. It was this cool artist. We're like, dude, we love his stuff. We told him all the things that we believed in, and he came up with this amazing art. And then once this Christian department got the artwork, they said, we can't put that out because it has too many different like religious symbols. And we're like, dude, this is just dope art, like, you know. And so they ended up blacking out in the Christian bookstores only, not in like Tower Records, not in everywhere you bought music at the time, but they blocked it out, which didn't make sense because it's not like they were changing the content of the songs. All you cared about was this album cover. But I guess they were more familiar with their Christian audience than we were, but sure enough, yeah, people thought it was like some religious cult thing, and it was like, dude, that's just awesome art.
They've been doing that for a long time though, like blacking out stuff. Because I always think of like Striper when they blacked out "The Hell with the Devil." Their second album
yeah, you can't even say like hell. It's like, bro, that's a whole nother. We could talk about that later.
The cool thing about this record is that you went from Brown to this, and this album is so polished and very MTV world kind of like. How did you feel about that? You know, kind of going secular, mainstream. I mean, this was a huge step, it seems like, you know? Well,
I mean, obviously with the Atlantic, we had done stuff, and we've gone as far as we could on our own, independently.
Right.
And we did hold out. I mean, because we were believers and we were Christians, there were Christian labels at the time. And again, it's not like a world that we knew, but there were like, you know, we knew of like the Tooth and Nails, you know what I mean? And there was Solid State that came out. But there was all these Christian labels that had, you know, more like the DC Talks of the world, a lot of contemporary stuff.
And were they all reaching out to you?
At times there were, and then you're like, dude, these are actually pretty decent labels, you know. And but that was never our goal. It was like we weren't even accepted by that world necessarily as far as music goes. We didn't fit the look. We just didn't fit. And so we were already doing on our own. That's why we did stuff independently. And then we just felt kind of in our hearts like, dude, let's just keep doing what we're doing. And if someone's going to come knocking on the doors, you know, and Atlantic Records did. And so that was a whole different world for us.
That's awesome. How did you feel about when you went from this album, Brown, to this? It sounded like your voice was more singing, and you kind of it feels more comfortable listening, like it's like you were able to sing more and do your thing more. You kind of grew from this to here.
Well,
how was that?
It's definitely a lot. I mean, a little bit here, but definitely more like on satellite. But you said this was more polished because obviously there was a budget there with a major label. And at the time, Howard Benson produced this record, and that was still the age of analog versus Pro Tools. Pro Tools was still the new thing. Yeah. So we were interviewing producers. First of all, we'd never even had a producer before, but now we can have a producer. And we were going to old school guys that only recorded on, or they were just used to analog. And being old school, you thought, that's just the way you do it. And then Howard Benson was one of the first guys that saying, well, there's a new technology, Pro Tools, and we ended up going with him. And then even from this record, because it did so well, he went on to produce a lot more bands. Man. But you can tell a lot of it. We recorded on analog, but everything was dumped into a computer, which at the time, this is 90, like you said, 98 to 99. That was unheard of. So by the time we got to satellite, it was like, oh, this is like the wave of the future. So we didn't even record on analog at that point. It was straight into the computer. So we were learning as we were going.
So when you guys went to satellite, did you feel a pressure to make more hits? I mean, this is about 2001-ish.
It came out in 2001. But like you said, on this one, it was like we were trying stuff, but it was still very similar to that old school grimy hardcore punk rap vocals, kind of in your face.
It's a good mixture. Yeah.
It was, and it was very eclectic from beginning to end. There's different things going on. But on this record, I mean, this record sold 1 million records. That's unheard of. We could have never like planned that, have guessed that was going to happen. By the time this came, that's when Atlantic really kind of started paying attention. It was like, wait a minute, we signed these guys just as, I don't even think they looked our way, but our A&R really believed in us. We made great relationships at the label, and once it started to pick up.
So they took a chance on you with Brown.
No, with this record. Yeah, no, they definitely took a chance.
It's like, would that happen these days, kind of taking artist development,
There is no such thing as artist development anymore. They just take you, use you for what they can get, and then, you're done with. And they'll just move on to the next person because, they can create whatever they want. Before, it was an investment. And I think they gave us the bare minimum to do the bare minimum. And then once that record sold, it was like, okay, we have something here. And then even since then, being that we had this kind of Christian name, at that point, they started looking out into that Christian world, again, that we weren't even a part of, to start grabbing bands. Because now it wasn't about the message or having something to say. It's not like they signed us because of our beliefs or we had something to say. They just, they just did it because of our A&R guy, and they were like, we'll take a shot. And then all of a sudden, it sold 1 million records, and they found out there's money to be made. So even now, I think they gave Project 86 a run. We did stuff with Blindside. We got a little label with them. They signed Skillet. They signed all kinds of people. They were coming to us saying, hey, so what other Christian bands are there? And it was like, dude, we don't know. But they started to sign in that world just thinking that, okay, we can push this.
What was touring like? Because that must have been crazy. I mean,
Well, we were so used to doing stuff independently before, but then once, we signed a label with them, and then we put out our first record. We were talking earlier, Primus took us out, and that was our first big tour, and we fell in love with those guys. It was just amazing. Seven Dust took us out, same thing. They were so good to us. But at that point, we started to make some noise in MTV worlds and college radio, but we were still at the time just touring our butts off. And then on the Fundamental record, we had landed an Ozfest deal, and somehow, I don't even know how, we ended up getting the opening slot on the main stage, which was unheard of. We should have been on the side stage, but for some reason, the stars would have it. We did it, and then at that time, TRL came out, and then our Rock the Party video was. At that time, there was no social media. Kids actually had to call in and vote, and this buzz happened. And we had worked so many years independently. We actually had an underground following, which was awesome. And it was those kids that were calling. I say kids, being a kid myself at the time, they were calling up saying, dude, this is my band. I'm voting for this video. And sure enough, the only I think bands at the time, rock bands on TRL were like Korn.
Korn was huge.
Limp Bizkit, like Blink-182. In that world, you know what I mean? And when all of a sudden our video just started going up and up and up, so then they're forced to take notice of you.
When all these bands, so-called like new metal, and I know people don't like that term, but when you guys came out in 99, when you were hitting big in 99, new metal was huge. How do you feel about that title? Were you trying to dodge saying, we're not new metal, we're doing our own thing, and this kind of happened, but new metal brought all these bands on TRL and brought...
For sure.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not offended by it. I mean, I don't think we were ever a metal band anyway, but even before that name, there was rapcore, there was...
Like Faith No More kind of had their own, they kind of rapped a little. And
there was always elements, yeah.
Yeah, Anthrax and Public Enemy.
Yeah, so we were just taking a culture that we were a part of, and smashing it together. And so it wasn't like we were saying we're pioneering anything. It's like, this is just what we love to play, you know. But at the time, it worked for us. It was a street music. But then, like anything else, once there was a popularity about it, then everybody starts to do it. And then it's like there's no resume, there's no roots, there's nothing to it. Some of these guys were in ska bands, some of these guys were in bands that weren't even like this, and all of a sudden because it's in, But even at the time when we were playing, we would play shows, and then kids were, back in the day were, oh, you kind of remind me like a Body Count. And Body Count wasn't really, they were just being punk, street gutter punk. But they were from the streets. That's what they related us to. And then when Rage Against the Machine had some popularity and came up, oh, you guys are like Rage Against the Machine. It's like, oh, okay. we've been around before them, but that's cool. Great comparison, you know. Downset came out from LA, but Limp Bizkit was, when Limp Bizkit came out, and it was like, oh yeah, you guys are kind of like Limp Bizkit. I was like, okay, cool, you know. And then this whole thing of new metal came out once it got popular, and then bands everywhere. And I think they really just kind of smashed that original cool sound. They really just smashed it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's cool, man. This album, Satellite, kind of go back there. You guys, this was like every song was a hit. I mean, it was like insane. Yeah. What was it like making this album? Was it a lot of pressure?
I don't think there was any pressure on that record because we didn't know Fundamental was going to do as well as it did, and then we just got in the studio again with Howard, same studio, and at this point now we're just having fun. And I guess our mentality was like, dude, we sold 1 million records. Like, those people got to buy. Why wouldn't they buy the next record? You know. So maybe, I don't know if that's true or not, but it wasn't pressure. I think we were just having fun. But that's when I think Howard really kind of pushed us on a lot of stuff, and it was trying to sing. And I don't consider myself a singer, and it was like, let's try this, let's do this, you know. And but still keeping the rap and the rawness of stuff. But at the time, you know, we were going through stuff. Youth of the Nation happened, and there's just certain cool events on this record that happened.
And we were talking about earlier, like 9/11 happened around that time. So
this released on 9/11.
The exact date. Wow.
Yeah. So actually, we were in LA we were in New York, like I want to say 2 to 3 days prior to 9/11, just doing promo stuff. It was actually for TRL. And then we flew home, did a signing in San Diego at midnight, 9/11 midnight, and was planning on doing an album release show in Hollywood. So we stayed up all night in San Diego. All kinds of people came out. We're signing a new record. That's when people bought records. You know, they go to the record store. They kept the store open till 12. Signed all our stuff, went home, was literally in bed for a couple hours. And then the phone rings, and that's when, turn on the TV. And instantly, you know, we're watching the news, and the whole world just erupted, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So at that point, obviously, everything's canceled. We even had people from Atlantic Records from New York in San Diego at the time because they were working with us, and ended up staying in our homes for like 2 weeks because they couldn't get back to New York. Yeah, so they're calling. I mean, the whole world stopped, you know. Right. And it's not like we cared. I mean, at that point, that was the most important thing ever. But then, at the time, Alive was number one. TRO was number one for us. And once things started to not settle down, but trying to get a grasp of everything, we happened to be one out of, I want to say, 3 to 5 bands that they actually even cared to talk to or hear from, because our music was uplifting. It was offering something. And at the time,
everything's getting pulled off. Yeah,
they were looking for it. I remember calling into TRL, and I think it was Lenny Kravitz and Enrique Iglesias, because I think at the time he had a song called Hero. And so, you know, it was when people, they're drawn to music, to whether it's answers or whether it's just to calm their spirits or whatever, just to get away from reality. And at the time, that was reality. And P.O.D. happened to have one of those songs at the time that was saying, I feel so alive, yet here we are going through the worst tragedy ever.
When after all this happens, you go on tour, right? So do you talk about 9/11, or do you just play your music and do you feel like a weird pressure to?
I mean, it wasn't necessarily about 9/11, but at the time, I mean, here we are on the songs were doing what they were doing, and it was like, we still were speaking about our faith and what it meant to, you know, have hope in God, or to love one another, or just being happy that we're playing music in front of, you know, these people. And it's like, but that's what made us different. And we were talking about Ozfest earlier, and, you know, there was always kind of just a certain mentality of this is what you're supposed to be, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And yet when we would come on stage, even though we were just as aggressive and as, you know, the same energy, if not more, than the bands that were playing, we were getting up there and saying, hey, dude, we love you guys, man, and we're just happy to be here. And hey, you know, we believe in a God of hope, you know what I mean? And a God that created you for a purpose. And, you know, some people could buy. You know, some people like it, and some people are like, you know, flipping us off in the form of crosses. You know, just because they want to keep their rock and roll.
Right.
And so we were never, you know, it's different when you know, some of our own, you know, like idols in music, whether it's a Santana or Bob Marley, it's like that music is more mellow. So the vibe is like, yeah, I like what these guys are talking about. It's mellow, it's positive. But then get in your face, you can still be saying the same things, but get in their face and say, hey man, don't come at me like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we were trying to learn the balance of how far you can go, things you can say, always keeping that mentality, like I said before, where it's like, hey man, we want people to come back. We want them to come to our shows. If, you know, we feel like if we're a guest in your house and then now you're also a guest in our house, we're here to love each other, not burn down the house and tell you, you know, this is what I believe, take it or leave it. If you don't like it, you know, kick rocks. It was just more of learning how to do it.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. And so, and also this album, Youth of a Nation was huge. And also with this album, you guys kind of did, I remember you did when movie soundtracks for the first time.
See, we had no control of that. It just, you know, that was like, at the time, again, people just like your stuff, and then it's like a song like Boom, it's like, I mean, that just has ESPN written all over it. Like, we didn't know that at the time. It's not like we said, oh, let's write a song and try to get on an ESPN commercial. We just making music, and then we just happen to be that band, you know, and then, so, you know, ESPN's using it, and then all of a sudden you get a call and they say, oh, they use this song for a video game, and you're like, oh, this is cool. I think it was fundamental where Adam Sandler actually put us on in he put us on Little Nicky. Yeah, so things just start happening, you know what I mean? They start happening, you're like, this is cool.
That's gotta be cool though, right?
No, it's amazing because you don't even realize, because you're just still playing shows, doing what you do. And we were gone so much, it wasn't until like you get home and then, you know, oh, the boys are back in town, you know, and then all the homies, every family's come together, we're barbecuing and, you know, playing cards, you know, and then it's like, man, you guys are blowing up. And we're like, we are? They're like, dude, I see you guys everywhere. I'm hearing it everywhere. And it's like, for us, it's show after show after show. So you don't realize it until you actually sit back and you're like, this is crazy. This is nuts. And then, you know, you're getting opportunities like that, and you're meeting someone like Adam Sandler. You're going on MTV, you know, you're flying, you know, to New York on a regular, and like, we're not used to this.
And you're married too at the time, right? So
yeah, I was with my wife before P.O.D. We were high school sweethearts.
Oh, okay. And kids, do you have any kids at the time, or was?
My daughter, she was born in 2000, so during the Fundamental album.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must be hard, kind of juggling that, you know, the tour
always
and
hard.
Wife, kids.
And at that time we were touring so hard, even Ozfest, it was like, you know, we were just lucky and stoked to have a bus, you know, and then you pack a bus full of guys and crew, and then, you know, my wife and daughter, they would come out all the time, but my daughter grew up on the road, and, you know, it wasn't until she got into a routine of school and stuff that, you know, it was like, okay, well, she needs to get into a normal routine, you know,
right.
Settle down.
After Satellite, you guys had your self-titled Paywall and Death. How was it following all the success of that to this? You know, was it? Well,
that was probably the biggest shift in our career, because here we're a band. Well, Absolutely. Here that's the guys, and with Marcos, he's, you know, all original guys, and this is the original lineup, and we're still together today. But during that time, the whirlwind of success and all that, here we were, you know, millions of records sold, finally gonna wheel and deal with Atlantic and try to, you know, figure out where we're at, moving forward with a new album, all of that. And then, dude, we're just kids, you know, things change. Everybody, you know, some people have egos, some people think this, you know, some people become rock stars, you know, and here we are as just a band of brothers, but things start changing. It's just a natural process. That's what I hate about the entertainment business, you know, and there's disagreements, there's all kinds of stuff. And at the time, as we're negotiating to move forward to a new record, you know, Marcos had started another band, and that didn't sit right with the guys, and there was just all kinds
It's like
of
a side project.
yeah, you know.
Is that
And
the
now when you look,
accidental experiment?
yes,
Nice.
but now when you look back, hindsight, you're like, dude, I wish we had just talked about it. It wouldn't have been no big deal, you know. But we had worked together forever, and then it's like we were working towards a goal, you know, with our manager. He was a personal manager. We knew him, you know, same thing. We came up together, and it was like, he's the one who spoke business with Atlantic, and it was just like, you know, if even when you sell 1 million records, you think like, oh, dude, when do I get paid for that? It's not how it works in the industry, you know. And then Satellite is selling millions of records. It's like, dude, when do I finally get paid for this? And it's like, it's all in negotiation, you know, and you work out this thing. And so here we are going back and forth with Atlantic, and then, underneath the surface, we're having this kind of drama with the band. And at the time, we just couldn't see eye to eye. We're still negotiating the next record and money and everything. This like payday that we were working our careers for, and then we had this big old falling out.
Did
with Marcos.
he record on this?
No.
Oh, we didn't. Okay.
So we had a big falling out with Marcos, and then, I mean, the truth of the story is like, so long end of the story is we're negotiating with Atlantic, and it's like, we'll give you guys this much money. You know, it's like in any negotiation, it's like, no, I think we want like this money, you know. And I wouldn't even go up there. That's way too high. I was like, we want this money, and we're just working in. It's just a negotiation process. And then finally, when we kind of have this little blowout internally, we manned up, because now Marcos is not in the band. We'll say he quit. He'll say he was fired. You know, it's just that. I mean, we're all good now. But we go back. We could actually look back and just laugh at our stupidity, you know. But that's what brothers do. So at the time, he was no longer in the band, and we're in these negotiations. We had just got asked to do the Matrix deal.
Oh, cool.
So, and even here we are. No one knows that we don't have a guitar player. We man up. We go to Atlantic, and we say, look, this is the deal. Marcos he's deciding to do something else, but we're ready to go forward. We're, you know, it's nothing's changed. We're gonna make, you know, in our mind, nothing's changed. We're gonna make this work. And sure enough, the next deal they come back is right there. So we were crushed, and it was like, what do you do? They have all the leverage in the world to say, well, this isn't the band. This isn't, you know, this is not who we signed. And so they, just like every other label, they used the power that they had and completely just swept our legs out from underneath us. And it was like, what could you do? I was like, well, we'll just keep doing what we do, and that's make records and tour and keep working. And at the time, we got the Matrix deal, and we had no one to do it, but we had to do this song for them, and we had no guitar player. So we called a favor as a friend of ours who's from Little Rock, Arkansas, Jason Truby. He was in a band called Living Sacrifice. I think it was actually not this video, but he was in it. And actually he's in this video. And we said, dude, can you help us out, man? We need to write a song for the Matrix. And
this is after this is done?
No, this is actually this is right before. He's not even in the band yet. We just needed help, but it's not like, at the time, Matrix is the biggest thing in the world. I think the only 3 people that they even considered to do the song was, I think it was Tool, us, and 9 Inch Nails. Like, come on, look at that category right off the bat. So it's not like we're gonna call and say, hey, dude, sorry, we can't do it. So we called our buddy and said, dude, can you come into San Diego? We'll fly you in. Like, let's just spend a couple of days and see what happens. We got together, we wrote a song, and it was like, dude, we love this. Mm-hmm. We dig this. And, you know, and we gave it to the Matrix folks camp, and they loved it. And then we went back to our label after they, you know, shot us down, and we said, we have a new guitar player, and we're gonna move forward.
Definitely.
And so we did, and that's when we came out with this record.
Wow, that's an awesome story. I've never heard that. That's great.
It's just crazy. It's rock and roll. It's a crazy story.
So you guys get done with this, and you tour it for a while, and you have another guitar player. I mean, this is... We do that with him, and but at the time, the whole music industry is crashing. I mean, companies are folding. You know, all the people that we spent years building relationships were worried about losing their jobs, and so even at the time, the first single, like we kind of planned, we were excited, came out. It's number one on TRL, Will You. We're stoked. We just landed
Linkin Park asked us to go out. It's like the biggest tour of the summer, and this is another record side. Here we go. Things are great. I mean, aside from not having our original guitar player, we're moving forward, business as usual, but at the same time, we'd even done like 2 videos behind the scenes. We didn't know that all these. I mean, we knew that labels and stuff were having problems, but no one's working nothing.
And when you say problems, are this like Napster problems? Like people are starting to download music?
That was happening, and just I guess that was the beginning of all that stuff. And people were losing their jobs. Just other companies were folding, and so people were just worried that. I mean, they weren't even working the bands that they had at the time. Like I said, worried about losing their jobs. So here we are. You just showed it was the Change the World video. It was like an amazing video. It's gonna be our second single. Come to find out, like, dude, that video, the single, all that stuff sat on a desk of a person that we built a relationship with that got fired. So here we are on the biggest tour of the summer, and our single's not even being worked. Our video, which is MTV pretty much created us, and here we are not working any of these angles, and we were just devastated. I mean, the record went on to still sell some records, and we still toured internationally, but behind the scenes, it was no longer this Atlantic Records machine, And at the time, I just feel like they kind of got what they wanted out of us,
What keeps you going after all that? Because there's so much negativity going on. What makes you say, let me just write some more lyrics and make another album and hope things get better?
Well, we went through this record, and they didn't push it like they had in the past and we hoped for. But then you move on. You just say, okay, well, let's keep working. And that's when we moved on to this record. But they still, when we signed a record deal with them, it was like, you got a little bit more money at every record deal. So we had a recording budget. And so we were still doing what they told us to do, and that's spend the budget, go. And so we went and did Testify.
Testify's a great album.
It's a great record. At that time, it was just, there was no label doing nothing. So we continued to tour and do our thing. I mean, Modest Yahoo's on here.
How did you hook up with that guy? He's so cool.
We just knew about him. A friend of ours used to run our street team back in the independent days and stuff, and early Atlantic days. He ended up showing me his music when he did live at Stubbs, and he hadn't signed a deal yet. He was just this underground, but the story, this Orthodox Jewish cat doing reggae music. And he was like, check him out. We're like, dude, this is dope. And as we're doing this record, we did it with Glenn Ballard, who just has Grammys coming out of his ears, and it was a big thing for us to work with someone like him. And we always like having guests on our records, and we worked it out, had our management get a hold of him, had him come to LA, and then he ended up doing 2 songs on the record, and then he ended up signing his own deal. And then put out his own stuff.
Yeah, you got him right before he blew up too.
Yeah.
He got huge.
But see, we like it that way. It's like, it's just more, And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we even talk about your EPs, but I love this song. Sounds like War, and one of your Warriors EP. It sounds like it's Ja, or it was like different originally. Like, do you remember what made you change that?
Now that you ask, I do remember. It sounds like it's Ja to me, and that was actually an old. For me, that was an old. There was this reggae band called Third World, and I remember that line where it says, "It sounds like it's Ja to me," and then so the original demos was singing, and now I don't even know why we changed it.
It's all good.
We went through a process. We had actually not moved, but we had a cool little house in Palm Springs, and where we were just writing the record with Jason. And we started off with a certain producer, and that didn't work out, and then we ended up going with Glenn Ballard, and we finished the record, had some cool guest appearances on that one.
Yeah.
And at the time, Glenn Ballard, there's a song on there called Goodbye for Now, and it was, it's a softer, mellower song, and we said, dude, it'd be really cool to have like a female backup vocal on the outro, these certain parts. And he's like, oh, dude, I got the perfect young artist. And he's known for, he blew up like Alanis Morissette, and he's worked from Michael Jackson to everybody. And so at the time, here comes this girl in the studio, and she's super young. She would just hang out, really just tomboy, just Hollywood, like just kid, hanging out there. And he's building this, this young girl's career, and she's awesome. He's showing us her stuff. There's some videos that she had done, and he's like, I'll have her come to the studio, and if you guys like her vibe, then I'll have her do it. And then she came and hung out all the time, and then sang the vocals, and then she would just come every other day and just have dinner with us all the time, just kind of like a studio rat, just hang out with us, and she was cool. And then little did we know that this girl would go on to be Katy Perry. She was just hanging out at the studio because Glenn Ballard was building her career.
And singing on your record and everything?
My cousins got videos of her, like us, hanging right here, just sitting there, picking her nose. Like she's just hilarious and funny. And
do you ever hear from her anymore? Or is it...
Dude, she's above the stars. Come on. That's how Hollywood goes.
She needs to let you on one of her records.
I'll kill it. No, but it's just, that's Hollywood.
That's awesome.
That's Hollywood, man.
This album right here, when Angels and Serpents Dance, I love this album. This is like my go-to album.
I love that record, yeah.
Great album. Big question, why can I never find this album? It's hard to find.
Everybody asks that question. I think the only reason why that one's not up is because I think actually we recently just got full ownership of it. So now, really, there's no one to blame, but it's on us to kind of put it up. But again, it's like, that's not our business. We just want to write music and tour and hang out with people, and Yeah. But I think that's why. And this is the record that Marcos came back on.
Came back. That's great.
And
how did that work out? How did you get him back in the band?
Our brother Jason did the 2 records with us, and then by the time we were moving to this record, he, it was, dude. Here he is, this country kid from Little Rock, Arkansas, good old boy, and we as a band, it's like you take these steps, and it's like you go through all the ups and downs, the hills and valleys, and all of a sudden, it was a gradual process to meeting bigwigs and celebrities and labels and getting wined and dined and all that stuff. He came and with the whole Marcos debacle, he came right at the time when we're on top of the world. So even at that time, dude, they were, he was getting a publishing deal. He was jumping on tour and flying across, internationally in first class and doing all the stuff that we were doing. And, after 2 records, it was like, you start to realize, like, this is not reality. So he was going through his own things, his own personal struggles and stuff. And it's just like, dude, he went from just playing in a, metal band from Little Rock to jumping in a band that's touring around the world, and nobody says no.
It's huge.
You know what I mean? There's it's rock and roll now. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of and at the time too, I think after our heartbreak with Marcos, I think all of our mentalities kind of shift where it was just there wasn't a F it mentality, but it was more it's just dude, the things you love and the things that you are passionate about is for some reason they just, we were just going through our own personal kind of woe is me, this sucks, and even though we were happy to move on and to keep doing what we're doing, and with Jason, it was just kind of I don't know, we just were kind of living in the moment at the time, and it was rock and roll. And when Jason came, he jumped right into that. And I think after 2 records, reality hit him, and he was and we were gonna go into a 3rd record. And then out of honor and just integrity, I think he just owned up to where he was at in his own life, and he hit us up and said, man, I love you guys, and dude, I've had the time of my life, and we're brothers for life, but I need to go home, and I don't want to, he's like, I don't want to, he knew that if by doing a new record with us, that meant 2 more years of touring. And he was like, I don't want to just record, he's like, because he could have just recorded the record with us and then called us up and said, dude, I'm out. But he's a good man, he's a good dude. And he said, man, I don't want to do that to you guys. He's like, I just need to go and kind of get my stuff in order. And dude, I love him and respect him. He's my brother to this day. We still keep in contact.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, and so at that time, again, it's kind of like the Marco situation. Nobody knew. It was here we are. I remember it was Halloween actually, and I'm getting ready to go take our kids, cruising, getting trick or treating and stuff. And we had already gone through so many things with Marcos, but at the time, I think it wasn't even much time before then. It was when with Dimebag, certain things started
2004,
happening. Yeah, things were happening, and then it's just like, and here we are. We went through this big old kind of scandal with our brother, Marcos, and then we're trying to move on with music, and then there's still that missing of like, dude, he's, you're just trying to see through this facade of rock and roll and this industry, and it's like, dude, we were just kids when we started music, and we miss our brother. And to his credit, he actually had the balls to call us up. And
what timing is that? That's amazing timing.
So this was Halloween. He actually called us up. Again, has no idea. And he didn't even call to say, hey, man, I want to be in the band. It wasn't even on his mind, which today, that's what made it so easy. He just said, dude, I miss you guys. After we went through lawsuits, but it went through that regular rock and roll shenanigans, and it was like we were pissed at him, and he was pissed at us.
Yeah.
But we moved on, and then he did his thing, and it was just like trying to make his music work, and here we are just dealing with the industry and figuring it out. But he called us out of nowhere and just said, dude, what's up? And it was just, I miss you guys, man. And I was like, dude, let's get together, dude. Let's go get some coffee, let's get the guys. And that's all we did. We met up
Did
for
other
coffee
guys
and
cool
lunch.
with it too? Like,
yeah, they were stoked. They were like, dude, like, I think Marcos, he reached out to all of us. And then here we are as the other three brothers, like, dude, did Marcos call you? Like, like kids, dude, that's cool, man. Because we hadn't talked to him since, for 2 albums, years. Hadn't talked to him, and it was like we were pissed at him, he was pissed at us, like I said. And then finally, here we are like this, and then all it took was one guy to call and be like, what's up, and so we were just talking and said, dude, let's just go get some, some lunch, coffee, and we did. We hung out. It was nothing more than that. Didn't let him in on anything, just hung out, and then it was like, dude, well, let's do this again, and we did it again. It was just like, and then finally it was like, we just told him, hey, dude, not saying anything. We just said, dude, but first of all, it's just awesome to be with them and to be brothers again. But he's just like, what's up with you guys? What's going on? And it's like, funny you should ask. And we said, dude, we have to do a new record. And, we told him, dude, Jason, he wants to be home, and it was just like, cool.
That's a perfect time.
And yeah, and we didn't, it wasn't like, cool, let's start jamming, it was just like, it was like, cool, let's just keep doing this. And sure enough, we hung out, we just started hanging out. And then little by little,
so did he have a lot of ideas on this album since you guys are just getting together?
For sure. But, dude, with our music, it's always, it's guitar driven, you know what I mean? It's rock and roll. So the majority of the ideas come from Marco saying, dude, I got this riff, check it out. And it's like, and we just jam. So it could be right here. Marco's like, dude, check out this riff. It's like, this is sick. And then there's a drum kit and a bass, and it's like, nice, dude. And you just start jamming, and it's like, we're together. We start piecing stuff together.
Do you have lyrics already written,
Nope.
or do you go?
I'm not that guy. Yeah. Most guys they're all deep and poetic, and they're like, oh, dude, I carry around 1 million journals, and I write all my thoughts. And for me, it's like, dude, we write the music, and it's the music that inspires how I feel.
Amazing.
You can't take this day that you felt this way and you wrote some awesome lyrics and poetry, and then it's like you just smash it with. That's not how I do it.
So you let the music, you hear the music,
Always.
And you feel inspired. That's amazing.
Always.
Because the songs you have are so big, and to know that you just heard the music and felt inspired to write.
It's more of the vibe that gives off during the process and the way the song feels. And I'll take it and then I just sit with it. Hey guys, what do you think about this? And then it's like, cool.
Wow, that's a talent.
But even like something like Youth of the Nation, we were in a practice studio just writing, and at the time we were there. We went outside to get coffees early in the morning. Fire trucks and ambulances and cops and helicopters, and we're like, dude, what's going on? Something's happening. We rush back to the studio, turn on the TV, and there's a school shooting, and it's literally 2 blocks away from where we're at in This is San Diego. So we're just glued to the TV for hours, and then we're just sitting around kind of numb, just sitting there. And then Marcos is like, he just starts.
That guitar and
and it's just like, then we're like, he's like, dude, and the idea comes, I was like, and just in conversation, like, well, dude, that's the kids of today, dude, that's our youth, and it's like, and we're just talking, and we're like, dude, just keep playing that, you know? And it happened in that moment, which is awesome. And it was like, we called it Euthanation. I was like, okay, I'll start writing lyrics to this, you know? And just...
That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of moving along. Murdered Love.
Oh, you're going through the history,
I'm
man.
doing, man. Jamie
We
Justice.
could talk forever.
On your first song.
Yeah.
I love that song, Eyes. How'd you hook up with Jamie Justice?
We met Jamie on, I think, the first Ozfest. Just being, you know, loving Hatebreed, loving that scene, and always being, you know, fans of the music and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time, because I think Sendog from Cyprus is on there.
Yeah, he's on a couple of them.
There's our buddy Sick Jack from Psycho Realm is on there. But it was one of those things where it was, for us, it's more of an honor to have artists on there. We've had HR, we've had just icons.
HR?
Yeah, he was on the first Fundamental record.
Oh.
So just icons. And we had a song, and you're always thinking like, dude, who could we get on there? And then I think we just reached out to Jamie and be like, oh, it'd be cool to have Jamie's voice on there.
Was he in the studio with you when you?
No, that's the cool thing about technology. I mean, when we're a band, we're always together. It's not like, hey, let me send you my drums, let me send you the bass. Everybody's in different countries doing their different parts, you know. We hit up Jamie and we said, dude, if we send you a song, what do you think? And he's like, dude, send it to me. And we sent it to him, and he was like, dude, I'll record this weekend. And so, you know, just like this, a little setup, you got a decent mic, you have a little Pro Tools gig, you know, a little interface, and you plug in your computer, plug in the mic, do it. Sent it over by Monday. We're listening to it in the studio, calling it, dude, sick. Dude.
That's gonna be exciting.
So cool. And then it's like
with the Cypress Hill guy too. What's the bureau?
They're West Coast people, and so you know we've run into them back in the day. We even opened up for them one time in San Diego when we were still independent, and and you know you meet a lot of people. We grew up on Cypress Hill. They became homies, and Sendog he's the homie. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, come through. And Sig Jack from he was actually on the Testify record as well. We called him in for that, and it's just that thing. You're in LA. It's like, dude, we're in the studio. Want to come by? And again, it's just more of an honor for us to feature guys like that.
That's tight.
Yeah, man.
This song right here, I Am. Can you talk about that? I mean, that's a pretty powerful song.
I Am that's probably one of the heaviest tracks on the song. I mean, on the whole record, and yeah, dude. I mean. The reason why it was controversial is because there's a lyric that says who the F is he, but it's backmasked.
Yeah.
But again, to religious people that think we're in this box of what they want us to be, it was like, well, that's not, you can't do that. Yet the whole song is talking about the real person, or the person that we are, right? The lyrics, even in the beginning, the first lyric is, I am a murderer, I am a pervert, I'm sick to the core. And the whole thing is all these things that I am, these disgusting things that I am. And the chorus is saying that, it's saying, do you really, it's talking about Jesus, and saying, dude, if you knew all these things about me, would you really want to die for me? And so the lyrics are, this is the cursed man who hangs from the tree. You know, if you knew all these things, would you really want to die for me? And then it says, I know that this is the Son of God, but tell me, who the F is he? So it's just asking a question, because I believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins, and he makes us new, and he washes us clean, and all these things that it's talking about. It's just being an honest question, you know. And I think that's one of the most powerful songs we've ever had. Yet all religious people focused on was, I can't believe you said the F word.
F word, yeah.
Which is it's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous when you listen to the lyrics. Yeah. And they were saying, dude, if saying the F word is my biggest sin and problem, then dude,
you're doing good.
You don't get it. But so we got a lot of, you know, again, because people want to associate us as this Christian band. And then I guess in those Christian rules, you can't have a backmasked F word in your song. It's ridiculous, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, and again, and then we got so much slack, but dude, the amazing stories that we've gotten from people that have said how much that song, what it meant, and just the cool stories. It's just like, dude, I don't care. I don't care what these self-righteous religious.
Well, that makes it worth it then, right?
It makes it all worth it, because ultimately, that's the language that I speak. Is first, it's the language of the streets. It's the language of the world. It's in my faith. It's the language of people that I'm trying. That I hope to reach. I don't speak the language of the organized Christian church. I don't speak this Christianese that most religious Americans speak, and so we don't connect there. Most people want us. I mean, it's crazy, because the dead honest truth is I can probably go do a worship album tomorrow and make more money doing that than I would being in a secular world, secular band, even as big as maybe P.O.D. is, because that's an industry and it's a business.
But that was more of the attraction towards you. I think towards when you guys started out, is like, here's a Christian band that's not corny,
right?
It's real, and
Of course.
like more bands need to be like that, That helped me out when I was a teenager,
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And we hear stories about that all the time. And that's, at the end, that's what makes it, honestly, that's what keeps us going 26 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Does it pay the bills all the time? No. But you have to live with that.
But you still feel a calling to do it,
It's the only reason why I'm here.
It's a passion. Calling.
It's the only reason why I'm here, when you still talk to somebody that's like, dude, I was gonna blow my head off until I listen to this song, or dude, I'm the only thing that, or dude, I've found my faith, or dude, I started going to church because but it was, again, it's this language that's saying, dude, you don't have to be all these things. We're not cheesy, and I'm not perfect, and I don't have it figured out, but I'm not gonna deny this God who changed my life. I can't deny that. Even though you might not want to hear it, and I don't want to scream it in your face, because I know that you have a right not to hear it. But if I believe, because it's changed my life, only out of love would I try to scream it in your face. You know what I mean? Because I want you to hear it, dude. I can't make you believe it or listen to it, but there's something inside of me that says, please, dude, listen. It could change my life. I can't convince you, but I'm also not going to be silent and just hold it all in and not tell anybody, So to this day, that's what keeps me going, because there's no money to be made. Like we talked about before, we're a working class band. There's no money to be made in this business. You got to tour 13 months out of the year, and I know that I'm not called to 13 months out of the year and to be in a rock and roll band. I have a family. I've been married, I'm going 22 years. I've been with my wife 28 years. My kids are getting older. My life is with them. That's how I identify my life, with them and with my faith in God. And P.O.D. has just been a massive, massive blessing to me, but it's not my identity.
Right.
And so, and as much as I love and I feel honored and lucky to do it and to be a part of it, I'm still faced with 26 years later, dude, what do I do? And the only thing that keeps me grinding is that, dude, there's still people that listen. And because this is my faith, I still want whoever's listening to hear it.
When you talk about that, was this how you kind of got motivated with the Whosoevers to kind of share your testimony? How did that all start? I mean, I know there was a... This
is so awesome that you have these here, because I can just actually go back and say and tell you. So this happened... A lot of, this record is dark. If you listen to the lyrics, there's a lot of dark.
I love it.
Yeah. And there was a bunch, it was a handful of years that went on between this and that. But after this, I kind of was losing myself too. And, and I was like, the industry's changing. Things are happening within the band. And, here we are, business as usual. And I finally came to a place spiritually. It's even when I had cut my dreads, and I was just having this kind of rebirth of like, dude, grateful for all the success and grateful for all that, but it's like, dude, I got into this to share what I believe, and now here I am questioning a lot of things. I'm losing a lot of that in the process, only so that we can still be a band, a corporation, a business. And so at that point, after that record, I finally just got with the guys and I said, dude, I need to go home and just be, I need to check my own heart, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to just believe that I was this Christian, or I was saved because I said this prayer so long ago, when I'm going through so many things in my life. I need to get back to the roots and the foundation of everything that I say I believe in. And so in doing that, it was nothing on any of the guys. It was, I'm just going to go home and be with my wife, be with my kids, and really just do a little soul searching. And within that time, and we had just made a commitment, hey, dude, let's just take a year off then. And we did. We took a full year off and said, we'll come back in a year, and then we'll see where we're at, And that year just kind of got stretched out a little bit because at the time I was doing a lot more ministry stuff, and the whosoever's happened because it was me going down to the roots of my faith, and that is, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So to me, that word whosoever sounded like a people, and that was God calling to the world, saying, man, just check out my son, listen to my son, like just see what's going on. And so he didn't say, for every Christian that believes and for every this or that. It's a calling to a people. And so for me, I was already struggling with the institution of church and the organized Christian religion, and I was struggling with all of that stuff, and I was bitter at a lot of things. And I was just lukewarm in my own walk, so I just wanted to go home and check my own heart. And in that, just started digging into, the scriptures and being around like-minded people. And again, doing what brings me the most joy, even more than P.O.D. and the band, is serving, is serving people. And that's my community. Many organizations, just investing into the life of, troubled kids and, or people that are struggling with this. It's just, the whosoever's really just started off like that, where it was like, I just need to be around real people. And I just started to hang around real people that were from different industries, and then reconnected with Brian. And same thing, he was like, it was more of a brotherhood. It was like, I just want to be around real people that speak our language.
And Philly too, which is
yeah, and,
cool.
And sure enough, then Philly, everybody just started to identify with it. Lacey from Flyleaf at the time, she was part of the Brotherhood Sisterhood. There was guys from, Metal Militia, all these crazy guys that they weren't saying, I'm trying to join this organization. They were saying, I just want accountability in my life. I want somebody that gets it. That pastor doesn't speak my language. You know what I mean? This religious guy on TBN, dude, I can't identify with this guy. It was just being with normal people and saying, dude, we love the Lord. We're dealing with things in our life. In all that, we wanted to share our story. And that's really how it happened. We started to share our story from churches to rehabs to, we started putting on our own events with amazing bands. One of the guys mentioned earlier, like the Chariot, we were putting together bands that we knew were legit, that were like-minded, and that we were putting on free, huge concerts to everybody, not Christians, anybody that would come and say, dude, those bands rock.
Yeah.
And at the same time, while these bands were setting up, we had, Metal Militia doing flips, we had lowriders, we had some of the best skateboarders in the world, at the time. And all these guys they believed like we believed.
Could you imagine having all that when you were a kid? Kind of like searching?
Well, yeah, and you paid $800 a ticket to go see it, but for us, we raised the money, we did this, and it was all for the purpose of reaching people where they're at. And it wasn't having some, some unrelatable preacher on stage that was telling these kids how to live their life. It was the guys, we'd have all these bands playing. The Chariot could have just got off stage, and then you'd have Josh, and he'd say, "What's up, dude? I love you guys, man," and then share out of his words what he believes in, and then all of a sudden you have like a guy like Ronnie Feist, and he was just doing flips, putting his life at risk in the air. And then in between bands, he'd come over and he's still wearing all his gear, and he's like, "Hey man, I got 10 minutes to just share it." And it's just like, dude, I used to do this, I used to do that, dude, I was lost, I have thoughts of suicide. I mean, from everything, and just saying, but dude, I found the Lord, I found the real Jesus. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't represent any organization or religion, man. I just want to tell you this is what God's done for me. And it's kind of like a take it or leave it. It's like, dude, like I said before, we're just sharing our story. It's up to you. But if what we believe is true and offers hope, it's like we want to do that. And so then the Whosoever started to do more things like that, and it just started. Now we still get into schools, and we still bring in bands, and we give away free gear. We bring pizzas, and then sometimes Head gets to go. Ron, I'll get to go when I'm off tour, and it's like all of a sudden you're in front of a bunch of kids at school, and they're just like, "What the heck are you doing here, dude?" And it's like, "Hey man, I just got off the road, but I just want to tell you a quick story," and it's just all the things we've gone through. And it's just being honest, saying, dude, this is what I believe in. This has changed my life. And dude, I just, even at me as a daddy, I understand what you guys are going through, and how hard it is to be a kid. And it's like, these kids just want somebody to listen to them, that actually just cares about them.
Would you ever write a book like Brian did? Something about your life?
I've been approached, and I think in the right timing I will. It's not just do it to do it. Mm. I mean, I've even asked Brian a bunch of questions, how did you do that? And, but I'm just not, I'm more of a go with the flow guy. You know what I mean? If it's going to happen tomorrow, it happens. If it's going to happen in 20 years, then it's going to happen. I'm not the one saying I need to go do a book deal right now,
Right on.
I just want to raise my kids right and be a good husband and put my kids through college, and then after that, figure out what my next job is,
All right, man. So kind of wrapping this up, we got 2 more things to talk about,
okay.
and then we'll get done with this. This one right here, you guys went in and did like acoustic.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, I really like it. I knew there was a crowdfund on this, wasn't it? Wasn't it some kind of GoFundMe page or something?
It was something we did on our own. A lot of times with radio stations, we're going in, and throughout our career, and they're always asking, you're always doing acoustic stuff, and from the early days, we never really had music that really fit acoustic. And as we progressed, and we just kind of did our own renditions of stuff, and people were like, man, I really like that stuff. And so we just really did it on our own. It was more of a, we actually, at first, we were just going to record it and just put it out.
Right.
But then at the time, which leads to this record, we ended up signing a deal with a label that completely screwed us over. And then they kind of took that record and then made it like, their own ideas, their own plans of what to do. And we're like, we just want to give away the record. Like, and nowadays people can steal it anyway. So it's like, at least it sounds like, man, those guys are really cool. They gave us an acoustic record, You
could do like U2 where every album popped up.
all those bands seem like marketing genius. I think Radiohead did it where it was like, everybody's like, dude, Radiohead is the best. They gave away their record, and then everybody bought it. It's like, dude, first of all, they don't need the money. Second of all, yeah, they're gonna look like heroes doing it. It's very awesome of them, but it's like, dude, come on, they're gonna push it no matter what. They know how to work it. But anyways, it led into the Awakening record. But
let's talk about that, the Awakening.
It was a concept record, and it was something. It was something very, very risky. When we were young, a lot of the bands that, not necessarily that I grew up listening to, but Marcos, whether it was Queensryche or even Pink Floyd, there was a continuity to it. There was a story from beginning to end. There was a lot of hidden things, and it was like, let's just, we got back with Howard Benson, and he was like, why not just do it, and so we did it. But we had other plans of doing short stories and a lot of stuff, and there's so many cool things in this that the hope was really that like 20 years from now, somebody would kind of crack the code and figure it out and say, dude, look, there's all these things in there, Right. But we ended up doing the deal, and then unfortunately, when we recorded the record, we did all our end of the bargain, and unfortunately they didn't push it. They didn't do what they said they were going to do. So it brought us to another kind of lull where we're like, we put our heart and soul, and like every other record, into this one, and here we are, just kind of, and then you just keep touring. It's like, well, man, we have new music, but no one's hearing it, and it was just, it's again, like this whole story is always the ups and downs of rock and roll. So with that, we just kind of said, well, we'll just keep playing some shows and touring when we want. And then here we are now with a new label. And
yeah, talk about your new label. Who's your new label now?
We signed with a label called Mascot, and they started off with like Volbeat, and they have a bunch of eclectic bands. There's all kinds of stuff, but a lot of their stuff, they got almost like even a stronger pull overseas, which I think for us right now is awesome. Like, dude, we'll go tour overseas, and like the shows are insane. So you get this sense of like, even in the States, like we're so oversaturated and so spoiled with music that it's not this crazy demand of a rock show anymore, where it's like, dude, if Seven Dust comes to town, dude, I'm there. Now it's like, I'll check them out later. They'll, because
oversaturated, right? So
yeah, and even in the economy of music, it's like people are hustling, they're working. So it's like, oh, I missed them this month, they'll be back next month because we're working. Right. You know what I mean? It's just the way the concert game's going, everything's going. But go overseas and it's like, how many times does P.O.D. or even Seven Dust get to go to Argentina or, down in Brazil or Asia? And so when you do, it's like, dang, dude, this is how it should be, And so you go there and you get spoiled. I think the last time I ran to Lejean, they had just gotten back from Japan, and he knew we were going to Japan, and he was like, dude, we had a blast, and just the reception.
I wish it was that way here, It's like,
yeah.
And plus, when you're over there, it's like different. You can have all kinds of different bands all joining together and playing. You can have any kind of style, and
that's what I love about even Europe. Like, we'll go play a festival in Europe, and then all of a sudden, Twisted Sister's on the bill. You know what I mean? Or like a Queensryche, or even some band that doesn't even play the States anymore because there's nothing in the States for them anymore. And you're like, I didn't know these guys are still playing, but you guys are headlining. There's 300,000 people at this festival. They're one of the headliners. You're like, this is crazy. So it's kind of the mentality behind it where it's like, dude, almost like let's just, go where it's almost like there's just an appreciation for music, and then, we'll keep touring because we're always going to tour the States, but I don't know. There's a lot more life overseas right now. That's just great. And so Mascot is really good at that. And again, it's always a crapshoot, dude. This is the music industry. We're hopeful. We're stoked with the music that we're making. But I think for us, 26 years later, it's just day by day. Let's do
It's
a record.
amazing that you guys lasted this long and you have the original members.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a blessing, man.
It is a blessing.
We definitely don't take it for granted. We can complain a lot, but at the end of the day, when we're all sitting around and we just got back from Australia, New Zealand, and it's like, dude, these shows were awesome. You know what I mean? You can complain about a lot of stuff, but then after you rock a show and the crowd was awesome, and you're sitting backstage sweating, and you look at each other like, this is awesome, man. Can't complain.
Well, dude, for you being here, I kind of want to do like a gift, I guess. Because your band has meant so much to me, with Snuff the Punk, your first album. I don't know if I kind of got something for you. Here's my beautiful model, Nathan. Here.
Oh, wow, dude. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That is awesome, dude.
But this is a thank you gift, man, for being here. Your band means a lot to me. Means a lot to a lot of people.
Bro, that is awesome, dude. Thank you. I will put that.
You're gonna put it right in your closet, aren't you?
No, I will put that one up for sure, man. That one probably means more than some of those other ones, just because that's
yeah,
us.
that's why we did this one, because I didn't want to
that's killer,
frame
dude.
something else. But yep. So.
Thank you, brother.
But,
I will throw it up, and I will even send you a video of it up.
Thank you, bro.
That's awesome, dude.
Appreciate you being on the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you.